Hello. On this episode of VCU's Got Issues, we will be inquiring with the VCU Police about a tough subject.
4 false reports of assaults happening on VCU's campuses.
This marks the second person so far this year charged with fabricating crimes on VCU's campus.
We want to believe that our system is reaching the truth. When people don't tell the truth, that comes into question.
Hello, this is VCU's Got Issues. I'm your host, Fernando Salmeron. A false report is when someone knowingly reports a crime that did not occur. They have happened on VCU's campus, which have caused panic across the community and wasted resources from the VCU police. This year alone, there have been 2, and more have happened across the years. For this, I talked with the Interim Deputy Police Chief, Lee Olds. Thank you for being here. How are you today?
Thanks for having me, Fernando. I'm doing well.
Awesome. Alrighty. So, I have heard from the VCU Police Chief, John Venuti, that these reports cause VCU police to deploy additional forces and inform the public because it is their duty. Can you elaborate on that, and what are the real consequences from a false report or false allegation?
Well, as we investigate reports that are made to us, and it starts with a report to a police officer or a patrol officer, more than likely, and then investigative resources that a lot of time and effort can go into. They could be used. That same time and effort could be used in other legitimate reports.
And when the reports get released to the public, it causes fear among the community, and obviously must hurt social cohesion in the area. Do you see the impact that it has on people? Like, do you get like messages or anything like that, like concerned citizens or anyone like that?
We've been told by our community that they like for us to make them aware of the crime that is occurring. And then we're also bound by law to notify the community of certain crimes for the Jean Cleary Act. So when we do make a crime alert, depending on kind of what the crime is, where it occurred, and especially if there's been multiple reports kind of in the same area or of the same type of crime, it definitely causes concern among our community members. And we ultimately will, we do get a lot of feedback from our community.
And Mr. Olds, why would someone file a false report or allegation? Like, could it be revenge on someone, for attention maybe, to cover up their own crime, social pressure? Like, what do you think, in your opinion, or what you've seen are factors?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is it's different for each one. It can vary. It can vary from, like you said, social pressures. It can vary for some sort of attention-seeking reasons, and really there's no rhyme or reason behind why somebody would do it.
Alrighty. And also, so Mr. Olds, how does VCU police investigate a report of an assault when it comes to them? Like, how do you tell if it's real or fake?
Well, we investigate based on the facts of the case. So, when somebody makes a report, we start by believing them. And then ultimately our job is to fact find. So we'll investigate that, and depending on where that investigation leads is kind of how we come to our conclusion.
This is VCU's Got Issues with the Interim Deputy Police Chief. When we come back, we will talk about the penalties for those who lie.
Revoice Podcast Network. The mic is ours.
You're listening to Revoice Network, VCU's first student-run podcast network. Listen to our original shows, Bad Attitude, the podcast where we document noise and craft through local artists.
Common Talk, podcast with common conversations and random outcomes.
Podline, your story, our insight.
Follow us on Instagram at Revoice Network. Hear our voices every Friday at 1. Thanks.
And we are back. This is VCU's Got Issues. I am Fernando Salmeron, your host for today. Continuing where we left off, I asked the Interim Deputy Chief about the punishments and legal consequences for someone who makes a false allegation. And here's what he had to say.
Well, I can only speak from a police standpoint and kind of what code section or what what would happen from a police standpoint, but ultimately the punishment is left up to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. They're the ones that would prosecute the case and that ultimately would determine what that punishment was. What I will say, or I can say, is that it is a Class 1 misdemeanor in Virginia to make a false police report. So Class 1 misdemeanors in Virginia can carry up to 12 months in jail, a $1,500 fine. Ultimately, and I can say this, that in cases where this has occurred, the punishment has never reached anything like that.
And now these cases of false reports and allegations cause problems, but they're not common. When you come to the VCU police with a report, will this person be treated as a survivor and with compassion, correct?
100% of the time.
And do you have any closing statements or anything you'd like to say to any of our listeners, Deputy Chief Olds, Interim Deputy?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, false police reports are extremely rare. And just because somebody makes a report and may not know the full truth or may not understand the full truth does not mean that they're going to be charged with any kind of crime of making a false police report.
Alrighty. This has been Interim Deputy Chief Lee Olds of the VCU Police Department, who works diligently to serve our community at VCU. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Alrighty. I am your host, Fernando Salmeron. Thank you all for tuning into this episode of VCU's Got Issues.